Hey, this is Anthony Metivier, and I got a question for you. What if you suddenly had the ability to memorize dozens of foreign language words almost at will? And I'm talking about either a foreign language that you've been studying for a while and you're struggling to reach the next level in terms of your amount of words that you're able to use, or maybe you're coming at it fresh and you have almost zero vocabulary whatsoever, but you want to get into the grammar, which you can't even begin to understand grammar at the fullest, most functional levels without a substantial pool of vocabulary. And what if you were suddenly able to access all those words that you've learned and memorized in a stress-free way when you're, say, reading a foreign language newspaper, or reading a novel perhaps, or listening to the radio, or watching a movie in your dream foreign language, and maybe you've got the English subtitles on when you're watching this movie, or maybe you don't, and doing both they're both great ways to study and learn a language. And in fact, here's a tip: if you are able to purchase a foreign language movie and make sure that the DVD has subtitles in the language itself, so long as the subtitles in the language itself are the same dialogue, and they're not always, unfortunately, but it's the same words that the characters are speaking on the screen, well, then you actually have a visual presentation and display of the words that they're speaking. Though again, you got to sort of be careful that they're actually, what's written there on the screen is what the characters are actually saying, because sometimes you'll get close approximations. And one way to really look out for that is to learn in your dream foreign language what the words for closed captioning are in that language, and then pick those DVDs that have that, so that there is absolute fidelity between the words that the characters are saying and what appears on the screen in the form of subtitles. And that just really boosts your exposure to the language, because seeing and hearing at the same time is very, very magnetic. So I hope you'll give that technique a try. It's, I think, a lot more interesting than flipping through index cards or pressing buttons on your smartphone with spaced repetition software. And there's nothing wrong with using those things, but you want to be able to boost your fluency in ways that are fun and stimulating, and use your creativity and put you in creative environments. And I used to think that was impossible, to be creative and to be in an environment that's stimulating my brain without rote repetition, until something very strange and unusual happened to me. And over the past several years, as a matter of fact, as a result of these odd little happenings, I've helped thousands of people memorize thousands of words using a simple methodology that I developed for you after painfully struggling to memorize foreign language vocabulary for a very long time. And some of those simple steps that I've come up with and refined based on ancient memorization techniques that I've learned from some great masters, some of these steps are really, really, really simple. And one of the first ones, the easiest of all perhaps, called step number 1, is to get clear on what it is you want to do when you're studying a foreign language. You got to ask yourself, do you really want to learn your dream foreign language, or do you just want to sort of learn it? Is it for business, or is it for the kicks that come with things like understanding another culture, which is a great feeling, and it really deepens your relationship to the world and to other people and to everything that you do, really, when you have that intimate connection with a whole other mindset. So you've got to ask yourself, is that part of what you want? And are you clear about exactly what you're willing to do in order to get that? And so long as you have a reason, and it doesn't matter what the reason is that you want to learn a foreign language, so long as you have a reason and that it's sufficiently strong enough to motivate you, well, then you can proceed to the next step. And the next step is step 2, which is to get a strategy. Now, I'm not talking about going to a class or buying a whole pile of audio programs and books that cost $1 trillion. I'm talking about a memorization strategy as something that you use to get those words into your mind. Doesn't matter where you get the words, from dictionaries, from foreign language newspapers, from movies, radio, from talking to people. Just getting words into your mind and keeping them there. That's a memorization strategy. It's literally how you're going to get those words learned and memorized permanently. And the way I see it, you've got two options. The first is rote learning with index cards and spaced repetition with some exposure through classes and whatever else you might do, watching movies and listening to music and so forth. But that's the main strategy for actually memorizing, is rote learning, index cards, spaced repetition, and so forth. Or you can use a dedicated memorization strategy based around mnemonics. Either way, we're talking about developing focus, a strategical method for looking at the words sincerely, practicing, putting the words you want to learn in your mind in order to drive that engine of grammar I was talking about before, so that you can move forward in your language learning efforts. Because anyone who has spent even a small amount of time learning a foreign language knows that the engine of grammar doesn't travel very far without a sufficient number of words to fuel it. So you got either painful rote learning, flipping through index cards, or you got fun and easy memorization strategies that are a way of developing focus no matter how many thousands of dollars you've spent on courses, confusing grammar and vocabulary books, and audio programs. As you can probably tell, I'm pretty well biased towards having a dedicated memorization strategy that lets you quickly flow into fluency instead of flipping into it after hours of shuffling index cards and pressing buttons on your smartphone with these spaced repetition softwares. Again, there's nothing wrong with those. They're worth experimenting with, but they work even better when you have a dedicated memorization strategy. And so if you're interested in the next step, I'm going to assume that you're interested in learning a little bit about the method I've developed for myself and that's helped thousands of others of people learn thousands of other words in all kinds of languages. It really doesn't matter what language it is. And if the answer is yes, then I'm going to teach you a little bit about memory palaces. So the next step, after you've gotten clear on your purpose and you've made a decision, now about getting a strategy that you're going to use, either index cards or some sort of form of mnemonics, the step 3 is to build a memory palace. And a memory palace is a mental construct based on a familiar location, such as the place you live right now. Now, mental construct is the brainiac, matrix-esque term that I use a lot to explain what memory palaces are. But the ancient Greeks and Romans used memory palaces also, not to mention other ancient cultures and every culture ever since then. So they must be good to have survived 2,000 years plus, and unlike pyramids, which nobody builds anymore, people are still building memory palaces and it's working gangbusters for them. The point is that the best way to really know what a memory palace is, whether you're thinking about it in matrix-esque terms or you're thinking about it in ancient Greek terms, is to actually build one. So I'm going to take you through that process. So go ahead and get a picture in your mind of the room you're sitting in right now, or the room you would be sitting in if you were to be watching this on your computer or laptop at home. For all I know, you're in the subway in New York, which, by the way, can also be used to build a memory palace. But for now, see the room in your home where you'd be seeing this video or where you are seeing this video right now, and see it in really, really vivid detail. Perhaps pretend to shine a light over the entire scene. And once you've got this room in your mind and can clearly see it, and it really doesn't matter if you do this with your eyes open or closed. For some, it will work better if you do allow yourself to close your eyes right now and really focus on this room and fill in the details, such as the placement and the color of the furniture and where the doors and the windows are. But whether you close your eyes or not is completely irrelevant, because you can see this room in your mind. And now, depending on whether you're a visual or an auditory or perhaps a more physical or conceptual person, why not see yourself or feel yourself or even just think your way into the next room and see that room in equally vivid detail, taking care to amplify the colors and the shapes and the layout and characteristics of the room really, really sharp in your mind. And once you've done this, you now officially have 2 stations in a brand new memory palace you can call your own. And there's a whole lot more stations you can add to make a very, very effective memory palace, so long as you don't trap yourself in this little mental construct or cross your own path. And those are 2 very, very important principles that I talk about in great detail in other places. And if you'd really like to learn how to turn this memory palace into a place where you can easily store and retrieve foreign language vocabulary, here's what you can do right now. Over the years, I've developed a complete practical and language learning oriented memorization program containing great ideas you can use immediately to improve your vocabulary memorization skills and speak more fluently as a result, and just simply think more fluently on top of that. And in my full home study program, which I call How to Learn and Memorize the Vocabulary of Any Language You Want using the magnetic memory method, you get more than 4 solid hours of video training and 400 pages of reading material, checklists, and worksheets to increase your vocabulary in any language you may be studying and boost your fluency. And I mean really boost your fluency in a very short period of time. And in this course, you're going to learn the best ways to build memory palaces for learning and memorizing foreign language vocabulary using a simple 3-step formula. And we've learned a little bit about that already. So you're going to learn a simple method for memorizing inside of the memory palaces that you create, the genders and the cases of different words. You'll learn the most important words to focus on so that your boosts in vocabulary are meaningful and instantly useful in conversations. And you'll learn to systematically divide words into component parts so that you're not even going to know what each word means after you've learned and memorized it, but you're ultimately, after practicing this principle of word division that I teach, you're ultimately going to be able to often guess what new words probably mean, even if you haven't heard them before. That's kind of a magnetic effect that occurs from using the principle of word division as I teach it. You also learned how to put together a real knockout vocabulary memorization schedule that will give you dozens of new words every time you practice, and I hope you will practice every day, because the more you practice, the more you'll get very, very good at this method, and the more vocabulary you'll be able to put in your mind and retain and recall. So I've given you a schedule that teaches you how to do that, and it's a schedule of putting the words in your mind and then rehearsing them in a way that's really virtually automatic. It's very thrilling and it's very fun, and it uses your creativity and your personality and elements of your own life that you connect together with the words you want to learn. And there's much, much, much more. So please visit my video course using the link below today. Watch the promo video and the free lesson it contains. Join the course and start benefiting right away. Now, I personally guarantee that you will be delighted with this program and that it will help you memorize dozens of words every time you study your dream foreign language using the magnetic memory method. So you can try it for an entire 30 days. If you're not satisfied for any reason, in fact, if you're not overjoyed with the course itself, the supplementary material, the bonuses, and the ongoing updated training that I add to the course all the time, I insist that you send it back to me for a full refund. You know, the magnetic memory method has been used by thousands of language learners, and most of them previously considered themselves the owners of a bad memory. In fact, even the best world memory champions will tell you that they all have a bad memory. They have terrible memories. What makes the people who have had success using memorization strategies different from those who haven't is that they've trained their minds in particular ways. And the magnetic memory method is the only course that exists that uses mnemonic strategies in a way that is specifically dedicated to learning foreign language vocabulary. And the people who have used it have made real strides in acquiring new languages based on the advanced memorization skills they have learned from the magnetic memory method. And remember, anything that someone else has done, you can do as well, as long as you learn how. So this program, How to Learn and Memorize the Vocabulary of Any Language You Want, will give you a series of step-by-step formulas to build a successful network of memory palaces that will allow you to memorize and recall foreign language vocabulary at will. So go ahead, check out that link below and join the course today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.